Trust is Valleys Kids. It started in 1977, mainly to provide youth activities for young people in Pen y Graig. And over the years, we've built up buildings, assets, places that we need to do things with the community, with young people, with families. And so at this point in time, we own this building, which is SOA Centre in Pen y Graig, which is probably the largest building we own and the building we've worked in for the longest period of time. So Capel SOA, as it then was not being, it was only part of the building was being used by the congregation, and so they actually offered us the main building, this large, beautiful space. The main enterprise that we're involved in is the work we do with communities, with young people, with families. That's our enterprise. The assets, the buildings are a means to that end. We couldn't, you couldn't do the play work, you couldn't do the youth work, you couldn't do the computer training, you couldn't do the artistic work if you didn't have a space to do it in. And I passionately believe those spaces have to be based in communities in need. They have to be, if you're trying to transform communities, which is part of our remit, then you have to do it in those communities. You can't do it in Cardiff, you can't even do it in Pontypridd if you're working in Pen y Graig. You have to have assets, you have to have places that they can come to in their communities. Okay, well, the first thing to say is we never set out to acquire assets. We set out to work in communities. We set out to work with people, with families, with kids. Yes, that's where we started out from. But inevitably you say, well, where are we going to do the activities? Where can we do this? So we were looking for, the space we were in Pen y Graig was too small. We were overwhelmed with the number of people who were coming, and we looked round Pen y Graig for other buildings.
Well, presently I'm the artist in residence for Valleys Kids, which is a brilliant job to be able to do, because no matter what I've done with Valleys Kids over all the years, I've always, like I said, I've had this art element in there, whether it's been using it with the younger people, with the older people, with the teenagers. I've always been asked to do art groups with adults because there's obviously a need for it. And a lot of the groups that I work with, some are vulnerable adults, some who have difficulties perhaps at home, in their personal lives. They've had bereavements, they might suffer from depression and things. And I think art is a lovely medium because it's got no real boundaries. Anybody can join in, whether they're beginners, whether they're somebody that's slightly more accomplished, which I do have some of these people in my groups. But it means that everybody can enjoy it. So as artist in residence, I have 6 groups over 5 areas of Valleys Kids.
7 days a week, 200 kids a day using it. You know what they say about buildings or about sculpture. If you want to see whether it works, give it to kids to play with, and that's what we do with buildings, and it certainly worked for us. I suppose the other major asset we have is the factory in Porth, and again that grew out of A, the danger of losing the building to the community, but B, the need to have somewhere that our young people who are heavily into the arts, heavily into creative industry, they see that as vitally important to them. They wanted to retain it. They wanted somewhere where they could develop their work, where they could listen, where they could be live music, where there could be video, where they could be radio, where there could be things that they were interested in. And so we set about raising the money to buy that building.
We're here in the Pop Factory in Porth, currently known as The Factory. The building started life as the original Corona Pop Factory, which engaged a lot of members of the population of Porth in their work and producing the original Corona Pop that was delivered far and wide from here. The building then in the 2000s got used as a pop music factory where they developed TV programs, and today it's an innovative hub for the creative industries, and what we're trying to do is run it as a live music venue, and from that enable participation by the local community in the development of a media hub, developing internet-based radio, TV, making the most of rapid speed broadband and making it viable as a commercial enterprise. The factory is slightly different from any of the other initiatives in that it has been taken on board with the specific purpose of setting up a social enterprise as a trading arm and to utilise the opportunities that the building has to create a sustainable business, and upon that business then enable the social benefit to fall from that through the programming and development, business development. Okay, well the starting point for the sustainability has to be the venue as a live event, music venue. So making sure that the events that happen, that can be anything from 3 major events a week through to weddings, conferences, etc. That all of that is well programmed and planned in advance. The live events we can have audience with, through to live bands, through to comedy club, through to acoustic nights. All of that happens within the building, within the main venue. Well, it's very important for us to engage with the community, and as far as we're concerned, that community starts on Jenkins Street as you walk through the listed archway. We take pride in making sure that we establish a good relationship with residents.
Okay, so my main function is to program the calendar of events within the live music venue space, to promote those events and to ensure that the events run as successfully as possible. Now these events can vary from local bands to national and international acts, comedy, through to psychics and mediums. So it's a multi-purpose venue really. That's the venue's function, and that's my role here. It's bringing people back into the valleys. Bringing life back into the valleys is part of the regeneration of the valleys, and culture is an important part of the valleys. The Rhondda has a huge heritage in culture, from the Corey Band to Treorchy Male Voice Choir to this place as the Pop Factory, to what we do in here now as a live music venue and a place where people can come and learn their creative skills and enhance their creative skills and talents. So that's what we do for the community.